Alright guys, hope you're all doing well. It's almost the weekend and to partay. Who am I kidding? I don't party anymore. I'm too busy working, eating, sleeping, basically. Now today I wanted to give you my impressions of Wednesday's stream after taking some time to truly evaluate what we were given against what I believe we as the community should have been given. And I want to thank you all for your support at the start of this video. I normally do it at the end, but I feel as though I need to put it at the start because your support is amazing. I feel pretty blessed to have so many of you still watching my coverage. Now with that out of the way, I want to begin. First off, I want to preface this video by saying two things. Number one, this video may come across as petty, moany, even quite pathetic to some of you guys, but please bear with me. Just hear me out until the end before you dislike the video. That way, my average watch time will go up, I'll get paid more, and that will be great. Number two, I have no exact idea on what the community actually wants. Of course, I'm just one person amongst thousands. But, you know, I do believe that I've got a pretty good understanding of what the vast majority want. I've been covering this game for 4 years here on YouTube. But this is an opinion piece, obviously, so just bear that in mind. What I know the community doesn't want for sure is how State of the Game started on Wednesday. This was the first stream of 2020, and I'd be lying to you if I didn't say that I was very much excited for the news. However, I did have low expectations, and let's just say those expectations on reflection were probably just about met. But, this is a big but here, the stream started in quite possibly the most horrible way for a community that has been so patient, not just since December, but since the honeymoon period ended after launch. Hamish, as usual, went over the priority alerts to begin with. And I've got a real issue with these priority alerts, so I'm going to come to that in a second. So, priority alerts, and the first thing Hamish starts spouting about is the maintenance on Tuesday. Specifically, and this is important, the introduction of a new cache called the Legacy Cache. Now, this isn't any old cache. The keys to open this cache can only be obtained with real-world money. It's a premium currency cache, and unlike the standard cache, this has no duplicates. Now, I've got no issues with the inherent idea of caches that can be paid for with real-world cash, because I know plenty of people who spend a hell of a lot of money on these things in other games because they enjoy it. What people choose to spend their money on is completely up to them from where I'm sitting. What I have a real issue with, however, is why this was A, considered a priority alert, and B, why this was front-loaded on the stream coming before anything else. Now to me, this just really shows what the priority is for the devs, offering premium caches to bolster profits from microtransactions. I mean, they even called this a priority alert, above everything else. And maybe my understanding of the word priority is incorrect, because Yannick tweeted this following a poll I put up on Twitter. For context, in our minds, the priority alert is about what's going on this week. We usually use this segment to talk about the last maintenance and what changes it brought. The priority is in terms of time, not the importance of the information. Now, to me, this doesn't sit right. This doesn't make much sense to me. The word priority means the fact or condition of being regarded or treated as important than others, or as more important than others, or a thing that is regarded as more important than others. Now, something that is time sensitive could be considered a priority, but that's not the case here because the maintenance has already happened. It was on Tuesday. If this priority alert had come out on, say, Monday, fine, because it's a priority in that the actual change is coming the next day. But this is 2 days after this change has already happened. Now, unless my interpretation is incorrect, when the developers say that they want to talk about the priority alerts, I take that as the most important things above everything else. And I think I've always had an issue with priority alerts because Hamish says every time that these are the most important things and the rest you can switch off from. But it's all the stuff after priority alerts that people are really interested in. A legacy cache, to me, and I think to the community, is not a priority. And neither is the new Textiles coming with a standard cache either. What I will say about Textiles, however, is they look to be a good solution to the duplicate XP problem. So that's good news. But the devs were light on this, very much like the rest of the stuff, as they didn't confirm the actual textile economy. They didn't confirm how many textiles you would get per duplicate. Does the amount earned vary on the rarity of duplicate, and how many textiles will it take to purchase, say, for example, a hat from the store? All of the real important stuff with this edition, the heavy stuff, was left out. And that was very much the trend with this state of the game. Like I said, this might seem petty, and I apologise for really elaborating on the legacy cache, but I really do think it's significant that this addition to the game was front-loaded on stream when it's probably the least important news anyone in the community wants to hear about. In fact, I put a poll out on Twitter asking what people considered priority news, and the vast majority said year 2 news. And of course, the legacy cache was rock bottom by a mile. And I think they should rename it. Something to like weekly alert or whatever. And they really also should be pulling this at the end. This should not be front loading the stream. This should be at the back end, because this is not important stuff. The important stuff is the year 2 stuff, episode 3 stuff, title update 7 content. That's what people want to hear about. Now, moving on with the stream, the devs went on to confirm that episode 3 will be coming out in February, and that the second raid will not be coming out with this episode. Now, I'll be honest, I fully expected this news, so I wasn't disappointed. It makes sense for the second raid to come out after the RNG overhaul and not before. Otherwise, you'd have a raid come out, you then have the overhaul, and then the raid might become redundant, if that makes sense. So it's best to have the raid after the RNG overhaul. And for me, I personally think that the RNG overhaul is more important than the raid. I wouldn't say it's more important than general content, but I think it's more important than the raid. And I think it has to come as soon as possible. So I'm not overly fussed with that information. Next up, as I anticipated, episode 3 is going to contain 2 new main missions set on Coney Island, 2 classified assignments for year 1 pass owners only, 1 new specialization, 1 new exotic weapon, and that's all we know so far, although I don't anticipate anything further in respect of content. Yannick confirmed episode 3 is very much narrative driven story content, more so than the previous 2 episodes, as there will be no PTS for title update 7. So title update 7 is going to contain very minimal changes to the overall balancing with the game, and that does make sense when you consider that year 2 will be fundamentally changing everything. What the devs did confirm is that shotguns are going to be addressed with a change in title update 7, but they didn't say what changes were coming. More importantly, I have to point out the lack of professionalism with this segment, as Hamish asked the question about shotguns and Bruce had to text Frederick on stream for an answer. Now, to me, this just shows a real lack of respect towards a pretty hot topic within the community, or Bruce didn't know that question was coming. And then I'm thinking, well, why not? I wouldn't expect them to, stay fully on script the whole time, and, the odd unplanned question for tidbits of information, they're good. But these sort of questions, especially like shotgun, that sort of stuff, these are important questions that, you're meant to screen these before you go into this stream, and they should be answered fully. You shouldn't be texting someone on stream asking them for the answer to something that is very important to the community. And to me, it just showed a lack of respect towards the real issues with this game and what people are really talking about. We got to see a new exotic weapon, which was good. It appears to be called the Chameleon because the weapon skin changes colour depending on where you are stood, which I think is really cool. Nothing much more was said about that on stream. I do have more information about that at the time of making this video, but this was from Twitter, and I want to focus solely on what the stream had to offer. I will be revealing more information on the new exotic, along with other things in a video, probably early next week. Aside from that, we didn't get any more information on episode 3, title update 7, or year 2. What we got was an infographic showing us what the developers will be talking about in the next 3 streams, up to January 29th. This included item stats, RNG, and UI quality of life changes, recalibration and skill power, and then lastly episode 3 and the new specialization in that order. Again, this was good. Given some form of timeline for what's to come is great. I'd love to see a timeline for year 2, and I'm sure that we're going to get that at some point in the near future, but to have some structure I think is a good thing. So I was pretty pleased that they'd structured the next couple of State of the Games. I know what to expect, which is good. So that was pretty much it. Now, the biggest news for me at least came from Hamish in what appeared to be a passing comment. He said the phrase stat storing, as in storing stats. Now, I assumed that this meant the recalibration will be changed so that you can store stats in the future. That way you won't need to hoard gear in your inventory or in your stash. And this has been pretty much confirmed on Twitter now, so this is fantastic news, but based solely on the stream, this was pretty much a passing comment. Hamish also said the words skill factorization, which I still have no idea what that means, but just like the textiles, this was kind of left there. I understand the developers can't give us everything all at once, but I'd say the vast majority of the community are adults, they're not children, So leaving kind of like breadcrumbs with passing comments like stat storing or skill factorization, I really don't think it does anything to provoke excitement. It's just frustration that you're giving us names of stuff, but it means nothing. It does nothing until you tell us what it's all about. Now, if you're going to give me a name of an upcoming PvE sort of content or whatever, fine, I can take that. But when it comes to stuff like this, I don't know. I feel as though they either say it fully and give us what the details are, or they just don't talk about it at all. I said in my video before the stream on Wednesday, if the word replayable doesn't make it into the stream, I will consider it, it a failure. Well, the word didn't appear, and I'm not a man to go back on their words, so I would consider the stream a failure. As I said though, my expectations were so incredibly low. With that said, Frederick has been on Twitter since the stream on Wednesday, and he did say this. I wasn't going to say anything, but to those who wanted more nitty-gritty, nerdy info on state of the game, I plan to bring the thunder next week. He also got asked, on a scale of we changed the 15% melee damage to armor, to we're about to Thanos snap the core RPG framework into balance, where do you think the upcoming changes fall? To which Frederick replied, you would need a left and right gauntlet. Now, had this been any other developer, I would have probably dismissed it. But Frederick is the only developer actually interacting with the community, sometimes Bruce as well, and giving us answers. When this guy says some big stuff is coming, he's got my attention. And I wanted to add this at the end because whilst I absolutely think the stream on Wednesday was more or less a failure, I do expect the next two State of the Games to contain a vast amount of information, because this is when Frederick will be on. Wednesday's State of the Game has done very little, if nothing, to curb my excitement for Year 2. But I can't sit here and defend what I believe was a failure. I love this game, I'm passionate, but I'm not going to lie to you guys. Wednesday's stream for me was something that I think everyone was very excited for. I think people were thinking that we're going to get a whole lot of news or whatever. And it was basically limp mode. It was, well, we're working on this and we'll give you more information in the future. It was what they've been saying for the last year. So I'm not going to sit here and defend it. I have to be honest, and this is me being honest. Now, I appreciate this wasn't the most positive video, but I want to thank you very much for watching it. I really appreciate all of your support. I don't like being negative. In fact, I really hate it, but I can't defend the indefensible. I've got a news video coming early next week confirming some more info on the new exotic weapon, along with a possible episode 3 release date, and more, so stay tuned for that. But until the next one, Epic out.